Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am here today with a tutorial on how to create this one sheet backpack. All you need is one sheet. I did go ahead and embellish it up for you all. This is how the straps look on the back. I didn't add a loop at the top because I added a dangle on the side. So there's the eyelet with the dangle, there's a bow, it's snap closure, just to give you an idea. And then that's how it looks on the inside. Using some beautiful double-sided paper. There you go. So stick around if you want to catch the tutorial. I'll also make sure that I link my blog down below so you can find all of the measurements and instructions there as well. Have a good one. All you'll need for this tutorial is one 12 by 12 page, your scoreboard, your scoring tool, which I have here, scissors. I'm using scissors. I mean, you can pull out your cutting board, or if you want to, some double-sided tape and some hot glue, which I guess is optional, but I think you need it. Okay, so I'm using a 12 by 12 page from the Garden Party collection, and this is the Cluster of Blooms page. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, so this is what I'm using. So first we will score at 2 1/4. You will then score at 7 1/4. And then 9 1/4. And then from here, I'm just going to be making 1-inch score lines. So I'll do 10 1/4 and then 11 1/4. All right. So the only thing I'm really going to burnish is that mark we made at 9 1/4, as you can see. So you should have a 2 1/4 section here, a 5-inch section, and then a 2-inch section here. And I am doing that because we are going to cut off these sections that we scored at 1 inch. So you should have one section that is a little less than an inch, and you should have 2 strips that are 1 inch. And these will be used for the straps later, so just put them to the side. All right. So now we have this. Turn your paper so your 2 1/4 section is at the top. This will be your fold over portion of your backpack. So now we are going to score the actual sides and stuff of our backpack. So we have 2 1/4 here. And then we will be scoring at 5 3/4, 5 3/4. And then we will be scoring at 8. And then 3 1/2. So we need 11 1/2. And you should be left with 1/2 inch tab mark over here. Hopefully all that's in focus. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and score, make sure all my marks are good. So there's our 1/2 inch mark. Again, we have a 2 1/4 inch section here, and this will be our fold over part for our backpack. All right. So you should have something that looks like this. Next, I am going to cut these 3 squares and rectangles here. So this, you have 2 squares and you have this rectangle. I'm going to cut these off because we don't need those for our backpack, and you can use these as for scraps, embellishing later. So I'm just going to cut on those score lines. I'm also going to remove the 1/2 inch that's to the right of that flap. as well as at the bottom. I'm going to remove that 1/2 inch there. And I'm going to go ahead and miter these corners. All right, so you should have something that looks like this. Now I'm going to, from the bottom, cut up to the score line. On all of these score lines, you should have 3 cut lines up, and you can miter these corners as well. I'm going to wait and see how things look when I try to actually put this together. All right, so this is your backpack. It's super duper simple. All you have to do is adhere right here, and then you have the body of your backpack. So let's do this. Actually, let's pull our straps back out and go ahead and prep those. Taking the scored piece that we cut off, I'm just going to make my score lines a little more apparent, so when I cut, I know what I'm doing. So you'll have 2 sections that are 1 inch, and then you'll have this one strip that is 3/4 inch. I'm just going to cut those, keeping in mind where my 2 1-inch strips are, because those are what I'm using for my straps. All right, so here are my 2 1-inch strips, and all I did was I just folded them in half on one another. I mean, if you want to go back and score, but just in case my cut line wasn't as straight as I wanted it to be, I just went down and folded them in half. Since the body of our bag is 5 inches, I do want to try to make sure I have at least probably about 7 inches to use for my backpack. I like there to be a little bit of give. So again, the other 1-inch side, I'm just folding in half. Again, you can go back and score this if that's what you choose. But once I put my stuff up, I don't pull it back out. So that's just me. All right, so I'm just going to leave these like this, and I do have my double-sided tape here to adhere them down, but I want to make sure I know how large I need them to be. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is take my hot glue for my bag and add it to this 1/2 inch panel. I'm just going to fold that over and make sure it all aligns. All right. All right, so now we have our bag here. Here is the top flap, and you have your bag body. I just take my fingers and poke them inwards so that I have my triangles folded, and I go about halfway with my fingers down. So we have those inward folds on the side. You should have your bottom flaps still up. So I just fold inwards the middle ones, the smaller ones. They should overlap. And then I go in with some glue on the outside flaps. And these are just going to overlap. They aren't going to line up perfectly, but that's perfectly okay with me. And I use hot glue because when this glue dries, it just adds a little strength to it. You can also cut out a strip of heavy cardstock and stuff it in the bottom. But now we basically have our backpack. So this is what it looks like. If you were going to stitch, you should stitch before you adhere anything together. But this is how it looks. And now, just like a little sack, I did make this one a little longer in the body than I did the one I made for Easter. All right, so now I want to add my straps. And I decided I'm going to do pattern on pattern, but maybe I won't. So let me fold it the opposite way and see if I like that. So we're going to have pop of green, which I don't mind. All right. So let me do that to both of my straps. This is part of the reason why I did not adhere it as well. I wasn't sure which side of my page I was going to use. If you choose not to use your pattern paper for this, I mean, a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet should work perfectly if you just want to do a solid color. So now I'm going to take my double-sided tape here and adhere this down. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to kind of guess how I want my straps to be. So I want them to stick out somewhat like this. I don't want them to be too big. So if I did half of the strip, I mean, I could get away with half of the strip, I guess. So that's 6 inches. But I think I want it to be longer. So let's go about here. And if I put that back on my scoreboard, I cut at about 7.5. So I said at least 7. All right. So now I'm just going to take my double-sided tape and adhere this together. And I think this tape comes from Tonic. I got this in a D-stash. So it's about 1/2 inch tape. So there is one strap, and then there is the other. If you hear background noise, my son finds the noisiest things in my craft space to play with. All right, so I just cut off the little bit of overhang where the inner pattern is kind of peeking through more than I want it to. All right, so again, this is the back of my bag. All right, so then I just take my finger and I curve my strip. I don't take scissors or anything. You could even take your bone folder, but I'm just taking my finger so I know I won't split my paper or accidentally crack it or anything. All right, so then I just fold a bit down at the top, and I do the same for the bottom. So once I have one folded, I kind of do it to both. And then take these, fold them together. All right, so there are my straps. So then what I'm going to do is make them line up like so. And actually, now I think they're too long. It's not the right curve that I'm looking for on these. So I'm going to cut about, I guess I cut that 1/2 inch off. So it's right at 7. Just fold it down there. Again, this is all your preference on how you want your backpack to look. So I want these to meet towards the center and then look like this. So I'm just gonna put this one down here, here. So towards the center and then towards the corner. So there's the first strap. I think on the original one I did, my straps were just here and here instead of like at an angle. But I don't want to put a loop at the top of my backpack. I don't think it needs it. So I won't be doing that, but you can do that if you choose, especially since you have extra strips left over from this. But yeah, guys, so here it is. This is my little backpack. Now you can add a closure if you choose. I think I used Velcro for the one that I made previously, but these straps are on sturdy. But there's your backpack.